Sabrina.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Oversight and Accountability Council for Measure 110. I hope all is well today, and I'm going to turn it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Sabrina. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Carroll, and I'm the Interim Program Manager for Measure 110. I'll be assisting with facilitation for today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list by emailing oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. That email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. For more information or support with community engagement, please contact Sydney McConnell, who is going to drop her information in the chat. OAC members have asked that OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your role with the agency, and if you are a subject matter expert, your area of expertise. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it back over to Sabrina.
Yes, I would like to turn it over. I'm not sure if Sydney or Kristen is taking attendance today. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Sydney.
I will do that. Thank you, Sabrina. And I'm going to let these people in from the waiting room. Hello, Keisha, and welcome back, Onisha. And I will take roll. If you could please stay here once I say your name, we would greatly appreciate that. Amy. I know Amy is kind of multitasking, so I'll come back to her. Blue.
Here.
Hi, Blue. Carlos. Carlos, are you still there? Oh, he's on. I see him. I'll come back and make sure he said there he is. Carlos is here in the chat. Caroline.
Here.
Hi, Caroline. Dharma is not going to make it today. Henry.
Here.
Hi, Henry. Hubert.
Here.
Hi, Hubert. Karen.
Hello.
Here.
Hi, Karen. Keisha.
Keisha is here in the chat.
Keisha's here in the chat. Perfect. Leticia.
I'm here.
Hi, Leticia. Melinda.
I'm here.
Hi, Melinda. Morgan.
Here.
Hi, Morgan. Nicole.
Here.
Hi, Nicole. Onisha. Hi, Onisha. Ron.
Here.
Hi, Ron. Sabrina.
I'm here.
Hi, Sabrina. Zeb.
I'm here.
Hi, Zeb. And Steve. No, I saw Steve join.
Sorry, I'm here. Just
That's
struggling
okay.
to get off mute.
That's okay. Hi, Steve. And then Amy, are you here? All right, it looks like Amy might have dropped off, but we still have quorum. So back to you, Sabrina.
Thank you very much, Sydney. So today on the agenda, we're going to talk about a budget consideration with Dave Baden, and then we're also going to address the Measure 110 email inbox, and then we're going to have some OHA updates from Jessica. And right now, I'd like to turn it over to Dave for the budget consideration presentation.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. My name is Dave Baden. I am the Chief Financial Officer here at the Oregon Health Authority. I use he, him pronouns. Good to be back with you all. And Sydney, do you have slides ready? Oh, I just love when you say yes to that, that comment.
Let me just get my screen share going here and we'll be
No worries. Awesome. You're the best, Sydney. Thank you. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit and remind everyone where we ended up as the council on both budget report templates and expenditure templates, but then sort of pivot from there and talk a little bit about where we're at and where we go from here to assure that all of the burn partners have appropriate flexibility to keep spending on the activities that they were approved for by the OAC, but not in some ways get bogged down in little budget transfers that just happen on a day-to-day basis, which we'll talk a little bit about. So let me set a little bit of context before going to a proposal for a delegation of authority around budget adjustments. So as all of the reviews and negotiations were happening on the Measure 110 grantees, there were lots of county by county budget changes, burn by burn changes, and grantee or partner by partner changes, and that led to us bringing forward a recommendation that was approved by you all to have a more standard budget report template. And that has been sent out to all of the burn grantees, and they are now working to update their budgets into that standard template that reflects sort of general categories for and provides a standard level of detail across all burn partners. This will really allow us to compare spending versus budgeted amounts, get to a standard template, be able to see sort of as we get into more and more spending as all these partners really get going, really allow a regular and transparent update for the contract administrators with an OHA, and then back to the council as needed about what's going on with the spending of the Measure 110 funds. So we're excited to get this piece going. There's been some discussions and some technical assistance that we have provided to grantees, and getting some back. We've had some glitches with some partners not having Excel or an older version of Excel. I think we're fixing through all of those, and I think we'll get all the budget report templates in here shortly. Next slide. So the budget report template will be great, but then obviously how the money is being spent is really important to show how things are going from a budget and capturing some of that data. So you all approved a expenditure reporting template that has both budget categories and service areas in that expenditure reporting template. This first expenditure report will be due as we get to the end of this calendar year. Will be the first sort of set of expenditures that would have happened up until really the end of Q3 in 2023, and some time for reporting. I think this will be a bit of an iterative process. I fully expect lots of questions and ways to do this well. How to spread administrative costs, especially into different service areas. For example, if you are the head of the burn or the head of that particular partner, and were approved for many service areas, well, how do you show your time? There's various ways in doing that, so that all of the costs that we can see through Q3 of 2022 will be then due in January 2023. So that will be all of the expenditure reporting. So that will come after this this budget report. We're getting the expenditures done. But as we move to the next slide, as we have heard from many individual grantees, that there is going to be appropriate and necessary adjustments throughout the process to what they've been approved for. This can occur for so many different logical and appropriate reasons. Doesn't show that there are any challenges per se, but just that budgets need to be adjusted. This could be hiring delays, changes in supply prices, a vehicle that you were approved for was magically more expensive with inflation. I know that seems hard to believe that something would get more expensive. So adjustments are going to happen. And so what we're going to propose here in a second is, what is that right flexibility that allows for a grantee to, continue with their eyes on the focus of doing the work and less concerns about some of these little modifications to maintain that focus on outcomes, program efficacy, and meeting the requirements of their grant agreements. So again, as those budgets are currently being revised, they will continue to need regular adjustment. So next slide. So here's broadly what we're proposing, and I'll leave it to others to make the motion for sure that are here, but just wanted to lay out sort of a 4-step, and I'll really try to make this as simple as possible and happy to answer any questions as we go through this. So basically, for budget adjustments, we're asking for sort of a delegation around 4 areas before potentially have, if there are items that are not in these 4 areas, that we would have to come back to the OAC for more major adjustments. But this allows hopefully grantees to continue to do work and appropriately change between categories to do the things that they need to do. So the first piece of this is that changes cannot change the overall not to exceed contract amount. So every single grantee was given a certain amount in their contract, and they cannot say, ooh, actually, I really need more money. That, of course, would need any sort of that level of a change in overall budget would have to come back to the OAC. So none of these changes would go over their not to exceed contract amount. So again, if they were awarded $1 million, that's the budget that they have to live within for this grant period. Second piece, so clearly the OAC made lots of requests and areas of what was appropriate from the OAC's perspective about using funds for a particular service area or an activity explicitly voted not to include by the OAC. So a grantee couldn't come back and say, oh, hey, I need to move into housing services, when the OAC explicitly said, no, you should not go into housing services. If there are those types of requests, that those would need to come back to the OAC if it would get to that point. Again, we have not seen those sorts of things come up to this point, but just want to make clear that the OAC has, again, authority about the areas that were approved, and we clearly didn't want to change any of those pieces. But then we get into the 2 areas that really are around flexibility. So as you saw a couple of slides ago, we have various budget categories. There's 5 of them. And what we're proposing is that a grantee could request a change between those budget categories, but that change could not be more than 25% of the entire not to exceed budget. So let me think of an example. So let's say that a grantee was awarded $100,000, and they had some people costs in there for personnel and some service and supply costs. That's the things that they were budgeted for and approved to do. But then their hiring was slow, or they just couldn't. Someone left and there was a vacancy, and they had some savings, and they felt that they could use. They want to use that to buy some additional supplies that they had been doing all along. Since they were approved for $100,000, they could move up to $25,000 from personnel cost over into that supply category to just get done what they needed to get done. So again, it's less about the individual budget amount per category, more about that against the total not to exceed budget. Also, in addition, what we are asking here is that within a category, so whether it be personnel costs or service and supplies or capital outlay, that the grantee has the ability to move within that category in sort of totality. So again, let's say they, are asking to purchase, 5 vehicles and do some renovations. Well, the ability to just get that done and be able to move within that, we felt that it was appropriate that a grantee have that ability to do those pieces. So if there are things that fall outside that, so if a grantee is asking for a very, very large adjustment to their budget, to move, half their budget from personnel cost to capital outlay costs, those are things that we would have to bring back and would, of course, think it's appropriate to bring back to the committee for consideration. But really what we're trying to get at is just day-to-day management of these, for these grantees to have the ability with OHA discussion and having the contract administrators at OHA of working through any of those smaller day-to-day adjustments, just keeping things up to speed, that we have the authority to do that. And again, that would allow then expenditure reports to be kept up to speed, and basically really with this, we hope that it keeps the grantees focused on the activities that they're doing and less on little administrative things that can be meddlesome, to say the least, but does keep some clarity that it's not full carte blanche to make changes across the board as needed. So that broadly was what I wanted to talk about today. There's happy to answer any questions or discuss further or any clarifications.
I see that Ron has his hand up.
Yes, hi, thank you, David. Appreciate that presentation. I just want to make sure I'm understanding in terms of the service categories. For example, like 25%, let's say if an organization was funded for $1 million and $250,000 was going to go to housing and $250,000 was going to go to harm reduction, it would allow that organization, based on what I just heard, that organization to move that level of funding from one service to another, or am I getting that wrong?
No, Ron, it's a really good question. So what we're asking for here is, let me see if I can go back up a little bit. That hopefully will get at your question. So what we have asked for in these budget templates is their budget by the 5 budget categories. If you saw on the second slide, there's personnel costs, program staff training costs, services supplies, capital outlay, and administration costs. That is what we're asking for in those budgeted categories. But when they report expenditures, we are also asking for the grantees to say how much they have spent in each of those service areas. So the budget and what the flexibility we're talking about is against those categories. But note, obviously, if someone was not approved for a service area, they should not be spending in that. So as these requests come in, it's we will ask those sorts of questions. If like, well, wait, you weren't approved to do housing services, what are you asking for here? So that's really on the contract administrator to help monitor some of those pieces, but the flexibility is around budget categories. And then when we get quarterly expenditure reports, we will see how much is being spent on each of those service areas. So hopefully that, Ron, that answered your question. This is really about budget flexibility against the categories.
Okay, all right, I'm just trying to, I appreciate that answer and that really clarifies it. However, number 3, which says services and supply costs, I was wondering if that services and number 3 there under budget categories was capturing was that inclusive of the service areas? Because that's,
Yeah, so I think that those would be costs for actual, actually that burn grantee providing Measure 110 services per se. So it likely, you're right, I think likely it would capture a lot of the things that are happening in those service areas. I would expect that that would be the biggest category in a lot of people's budgets, because that's the, where they're doing a lot of their work. And that, having looked at a lot of these budgets, that really is a lot of the work that really is going to happen.
thank you. I'm just
Yep.
trying to keep in mind the balance of services for each burn and each entity, and to ensure that all the services are going to continue to be at the levels that we intended with funding these organizations in every burn. That there won't be a shift from like the amount of housing or the amount of harm reduction or the amount of peers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and I think as we get into the quarterly expenditure reports, that's exactly the sort of things that we will be looking at in what gets reported on their quarterly expenditure reports. And I think on budget reports back to the OAC, I think that's exactly what we should be reporting back, of where there could be some differences, or where things, just to make sure that that it's following through with the important areas that the OAC wanted these grantees to go.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we've been all along saying that flexibility, innovation, expansion, and collaboration are our key watchwords. And so this kind of fits in line with my understanding of the flexibility that we wanted to have with the entities in the burn. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Blue, you're next.
Thank you. So I just wanted some clarification around the 25%. So as an example, if an organization needs to move 15% of their budget right now, and they do that, and then a month later, they want to move another 15%, that would equal 30%, although it's not more than 25% at a time. So I was just wondering how that works. I know that's kind of like.
That's a great question, Blue. So you're killing me. You're doing complex math on me. That is that is getting through here. So I think what I think what we're proposing here is is that we are talking about individual changes. However, I think you're bringing up a good point, and this is something that I know we've looked at in the contracted administrators to assure that this is, again, not that an individual grantee would want to game the system, but that we would not. Again, we ultimately would have. Again, this is delegate OHA to approve these type of changes. So if someone does 25% and then starts moving things around, I think that's not in the spirit of what is being asked for here. And it's something that we would talk to the grantee about what's going on. And if it is getting to where this really is sort of a set of movement that's above 25%, that those would come back to the OAC for discussion. There's going to be budget movement throughout, and I think that's really the contract administrators work with these grantees to sort of work through those pieces, and I think so. Really looking at these as sort of individual pieces is what we're doing. So I think that this could happen to where somebody could do 22% once, and then later we'll do sort of movement, but it is sort of one by one. But again, we'll keep track of what these changes are. So it's not like, well, all of a sudden magically something is just all paying staff salaries. So these are things that we'll be looking at as we go through.
Okay, thank you. I just have one quick follow-up question, which is, would the council be notified of these smaller changes that are happening with, I guess, the grant administrators, just to be kept in the loop as to what's happening?
Let me see if, I don't know, Jess or I would have no issue with, of course, that happening, of sort of figuring out a regular cadence to do that, of what would make the most sense. So maybe we can take that back and have sort of a specific proposal on that. It just, sort of what those changes are against budget. Yeah, happy to figure out the best way to do that. Jess, I don't know if you have any thoughts or others on here of what would make some sense.
Yeah, so I think that is definitely like, if that's something that absolutely the council wants, like we will figure out how to do it. Also, understanding that it could be, I mean, if we're bringing back to the council every time somebody wants to buy an extra iPad instead of or something like that, that could get cumbersome for the council. But let us go back and chew on this. There are definitely many smarter minds than mine at OHA. And let's really talk through the logistics of that. Thank you, Blue.
Yeah, we will have documentation of changes as they get approved, and want to present it in a logical way that that do that. Again, I think, Blue, your comment back, including in the quarterly reports, I think that's a really thoughtful way to get at that.
Right, access to the reports, I think would get it done.
Okay, did I answer your question, Blue, for now?
Yes, thank you, Sabrina.
Yes, thank you. And then also I was going to ask to make sure that I understood this correctly, Dave. So if an organization was approved for 5 service elements and they had a leftover budget from any of those service elements, and if they needed the funding, they could use that money towards another service element, such as peer support or harm reduction or housing, as long as it's under that 25% without it coming before the OAC. Is that correct?
So I think that again, what we're talking about today is around this is around budget categories, and not as much the spending on service areas. Again, we're asking on a quarterly basis these expenditure reports that will ask how much each of the grantee is spending on those service areas. But the budget itself is being tracked at specific budget categories. Those are those 5 in that section A, and that's where sort of the flexibility lies. Like on the service area pieces, I think your question is fair, and that they would have flexibility to do exactly that. They should be spending in those service areas and get at that. We would be tracking that on expenditure report, but we wouldn't need to pre-approve any of those service area changes.
Okay, yeah, I think that answered my question.
In a long way, I apologize.
Yeah, very long way. I was just trying to simplify it for myself and for other people that are watching that may not have understood it. So I just wanted to clarify again, there's flexibility in using that extra funding in different service elements, as long as it's under 25% before it comes in front of the OAC.
Yeah, there is clarification to be flexible within those service areas. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. And I see that Carolyn has her hand up next.
Yeah, I have some concerns in terms, I think there's a very fine line between our responsibility as a council in terms of micromanaging. I don't believe that's our role. This is the reason why we have OHA. Once we approve these grants, I mean, we're talking about what, more than 300, or I think we narrowed it down to the counties now, and then the 9 tribes. But I am not into micromanaging. We pretty well, there's going to be some startup, I think, growing pains this first year. And if everything has to come to our accountability council, I'm not into that. I mean, personally, I'm not. I mean, I think we have to decide exactly what our role is, but I'm not into to micromanaging. I think that's Oregon Health Authority or the health system's role now to do the assignments in terms of who's going to be monitoring these grants. I think we need to start focusing on the larger issue in terms of the legislature is going to be coming up once the governor, or whoever the governor is going to be. And we're going to have some problems because of how long it took us to get everything out the door. And we probably going to be in a saving mode in 2023 just to try to retain these dollars. So I'm not into micromanaging. So I think we need to be very clear in terms of what our role is. And I don't believe that's our role.
Thank you, Carolyn. And I see that Ron has his hand up.
Yeah, just going back to the slide with the proposed motion. My memory is that it says that the council would authorize the Oregon Health Authority to approve changes. And I just want to make sure the OHA is also authorized to deny changes.
That's a fair point. I could ask my Department of Justice colleagues if they see. I would interpret a move delegate authority to approve would mean approve and deny. If the motion would want to be adjusted to say that, I think that's entirely reasonable. So it's very clear language. But yes, that definitely is the intent, is not to just magically approve, but to adjudicate, to look at and say yay or nay. Looks like Shannon has a thought.
Yeah. Hi, Shannon O'Fallon from Oregon Department of Justice. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think you could either adjust the motion, but I think it's implied. So
Okay.
Either
Thank
way.
you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon.
Can you please put the slide back up?
Yeah, I think we're just fixing the view there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, well, I would like to move to put a motion on the table. I move to delegate authority to the Oregon Health Authority to approve or deny changes to the Measure 1 teen grantee budgets. Did I say that correctly?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Sydney, would you? Okay, I see Blue has her hand up.
I just wanted to ask if we actually needed to verbalize those 4 blue bars as to get them included in the motion. I know it's a lot of words, but I just thought I would ask.
Shannon?
did we have a motion, Dave, on the slide? It was a little bit longer.
No, I think this was the motion that was on the slide.
Oh, I see. So, I mean, I think that you could either read it or sort of reference, sort of the motion could say sort of consistent with the presentation and the parameters provided by the Oregon Health Authority.
So would I need to remove my other motion off the table?
I think you could just
Reason.
sort of amend your motion. Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to amend my motion, and I move to delegate authority to the Oregon Health Authority to approve or deny Measure 110 grantee budgets in alignment with this slide, which says, do I have to read it all?
Sabrina, it's Shannon. Maybe say just consistent with the slide regarding delegation of authority for specific budget adjustments. So just read the title.
Okay, so delegation of authority for specific budget adjustments. Is that good enough?
Yeah, this is Shannon. I think it is. We'll work on the OHA side to make sure that we are capturing this correctly. This meeting is being recorded, so we will have that. And since this is you amended your motion, then we'll need another second.
I second
Sorry.
it.
So go ahead, Blue.
Okay, I second it.
All right, so we have a motion on the table from Sabrina. We have a second from Blue, and I believe Kristen, sorry, Sabrina, I should have. And we have Kristen who is calling the vote.
Yes, and I'm doing this, I think, with a partial attendance list. So I might call for people who we know aren't here. Apologies in advance. So with that, Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Blue, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carlos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Caroline, how do you vote?
Yes.
I remember Dharma's not here. Henry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Hubert, how do you vote?
Yes.
Karen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Keisha, how do you vote?
Keisha indicated yes in the chat.
Thank you. Leticia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Melinda, how do you vote?
Yes.
Morgan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Nicole, how do you vote? We'll vote. Onisha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sabrina, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Zeb, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, that is enough yeses to pass. That is 18 yeses and 2 no, not here votes. Passing it back to you, Sabrina.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Kristen. I am now going to hand it over to Jessica for a presentation on the Measure 110 email inbox.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great week off last week. Much deserved for this council for sure. So you all voted on your last county, which means that it's time to talk about all of the emails that have come into the Measure 110 email inbox. We have collected a fair amount. I want to say we have about 18 pages of emails for you all, not counting the, hey, I need the YouTube link for today's meeting, or I'd like to be on the interested parties list. Those emails are attended to as they come in, because we don't want to leave anybody hanging. So with regard to the Measure 110 inbox, we have been talking about this with the tri-chairs for a while, and the tri-chairs kind of came to an agreement yesterday that they would like to handle this in a specific way. And so Sabrina, either you can talk about what the tri-chairs decided, or I can. I don't think we hammered this out before, so I apologize. Would you like to just give a brief overview, or shall I?
You shall, Jessica.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is what the tri-chairs decided, is that we are going to send these emails out to everybody, but they would like to have a group agreement, and that no single person is going to read one of these emails and decide they're going to reach out to a specific person or organization that sent in an email. Instead, what they are hoping to do is send out the email so you all get an idea of the type of emails that came in. And then next, on the next agenda, that we will have some suggested processes for how you all decide you want to deal with these emails. I think we kind of went back and forth, trying to figure out what we should do first, and the tri-church really wanted y'all to see the emails. They also probably want to see the emails. So, are there any questions about that? Hearing none. So I think the next step here would be to vote on a suggested motion. If we could bring those slides up, and I will so here's the suggested motion, and it's essentially nobody's just gonna go, like, rogue respond to any of these without before you all kind of decide on a process together, as as a council. So with that, if there are no other questions, it sounds like we can call for a motion. Ron?
I guess this is more, before we get to that, I just had a question regarding how or whether or not the emails themselves are subject to public information laws or Public Records Act, and if so, how does that impact what the council can do with the emails?
That's a good question, Ron. Thank you, Allison.
Sure. So, as you'll see when you receive the emails, some of them, may contain, personal or individual information, and so, the council members would be expected to, comply with any public record laws regarding, not disclosing personal information externally.
Thank you, Allison. Did that answer your question, Ron?
I'm just thinking through this idea of, okay, yeah, process. So we're just voting to create a process. That's what we're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, you're just essentially voting to say we all agree. It's like a group agreement. We all agree that nobody's gonna just read an email and decide that they want to respond on behalf of, until we get to a place where we can make this decision together as a council on how we as a council are going to respond to these emails. Does that help?
Yes, yeah, it sounds fine. I was just trying to make sure that we were not trampling on any kind of public records statute.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We definitely don't want to get ourselves into any hot water.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to put the motion on the table, and I will read it directly this time. The motion would be for emails received at the Measure 110 inbox, individual council members will not respond to the emails directly, and instead the OAC plans to put on a future meeting agenda to vote upon a method for responding to the emails on behalf of the OAC.
I'll second that. This is Karen.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Kristen, would you like to take the vote?
I would be happy to. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Blue, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carlos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Here we go, micromanaging.
Caroline, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yeah. Henry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Hubert, how do you vote?
Yes.
Karen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Keisha, how do you vote?
She put yes in the chat.
Thank you. Leticia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Melinda, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Morgan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Nicole, how do you vote? Onisha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ron, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Sabrina, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Zeb, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes with 18 yes votes.
All right, thank you. Just a quick update on that. We will be sending those emails out to you after this meeting. Thank you for that. Sabrina?
Yes, Jessica, do you have any OHA updates you'd like to give?
I do. So I have one very important update. We have put together. So sorry, we're talking about the applications to appoint the missing OAC members. So we have put together the application. We essentially just used the application that was used the first time. However, we had to update it with some language regarding the stipends, which have changed, and to call out that this will not be a full 4-year term. You will be, anyone appointed would be serving out this current 4-year term. And so we put that language in there. We have set that for review to ensure that the language that we put there is correct. And once we get that back, we will have that translated and we will post it everywhere. It will go out on all channels available to us. So you should be hearing from us soon about how you can share that link with or that application with folks who you feel would fit those missing seats. And with that, I am going to pass it back to, or are there any questions? I'm so sorry. I got ahead of myself. Hearing none, I'm going to pass it back to Sabrina.
Okay, thank you, Jessica, and thank you all for the work today. And I would like to lead this next part of the meeting and I know Ron has been trying to evade this part the last couple of meetings, but we would like to give him thanks for for being such a leader over his time as serving as tri-chair. And I can just speak from my own personal experience. There's been sometimes I was like a little bit stuck, and Ron was able to help me talk through those processes, and he's always been very supportive, encouraging, direct, on point, and very knowledgeable. And so I just want to say thank you, Ron, and look forward to continuously working with you on the council. And so I would like to leave it open to any other council member that would like to give Ron some regards.
This is Amy Madrigal. Ron, you've been helpful to me from the get-go. I was able to call you and ask you questions. You always took the time and were encouraging and thoughtful in your responses. And I appreciate that because that doesn't happen a lot. It's like, having a coworker right beside you, and we're so far apart, but yet you made the miles seem small. And your knowledge was just phenomenal. I'm honored that you're on this council with us because you've been amazing, man, and I know you will continue to. So if we have any more questions, I got your number still. No. I just want to thank you and thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Amy. I see that Zeb has his hand raised.
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what everybody has been saying. Ron, you've been an amazing ambassador for Measure 110. And the way you've represented yourself in the community and asking questions and all these sayings and the time that you put in. I don't know if people out there understand how much time you put into this. I just want to say it's been an honor to get to know you on here. Hopefully we get to meet in person one day and everything, but thank you so much. And I'm glad it's not like you're disappearing or nothing. You're still here. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Blue.
Thanks. Yeah, Ron, I just really wanted to thank you for your leadership. I don't know how you do it, but you've managed to, like, at a moment's notice, be able to, repeat back all of the concepts, Measure 110, all the ways in which it works. And I just really look up to you being able to, like, hold all of that in your head and have all that information readily available. And I really appreciate that, you don't just understand, the experience of somebody with lived experience, but also you understand these systems, you understand talking to senators and legislators and all these things that are way beyond, my current skill set. And so I just appreciate all of your experience and, everything that you've shared with me so far in learning how to work with these systems. So thank you so much. And I am also very honored that you are on the council with us.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, thanks. I just want to thank you also, Ron, for your leadership, especially during this tumultuous period as we got this off the ground. I know you and I didn't always agree on everything, which I think is a good thing. You really pushed the council, you pushed OHA, and you are a relentless and effective advocate for this work. And it just, it's been really good to get to know you and to work with you. And thank you for that leadership and for the guidance and how effective you've been in getting us to where we are. Much appreciated.
Karen has her hand up.
Hi. Yeah, I'm having trouble seeing people now, but Ron, I just wanted to say that it was really great for me to have you serve as one of the first tri-chairs. I've known you for a while before all this work and Measure 110. And so I know and knew how committed you are to recovery and helping people that still struggle with these issues. And I do think you provided some really great leadership for the council. So I know I made some comments a few weeks ago, so I just add to those. And glad you're on this council, Ron. Thank you for everything you've done.
Well, thanks everybody for the kind words. This work is near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to keep at it. And fundamentally, it's about speaking truth to power and delivering for the people. And I'm just going to keep at it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you again, Ron. And with that, there's a lot of hearts and there's some other remarks in the chat box. But right now, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Jessica.
Yeah, and I would like to just offer some space to Onisha, who would like to say something.
Hey guys, so I'm not sure how to ask this of you guys, but I think it's super important to all of us. There are some stuff coming up in the community that is anti-Measure 110, and I think regardless of whether we all stand on this council, we've come to believe, we've been on here for almost a year and a half, a little over, and there are some people who are coming who say that the work we're doing here isn't important, or the work we're doing here may need to be repealed. And I can pretty much be 100% sure that all of you guys disagree. And I don't know if anyone wants to be on the offense, but I believe that our stories are powerful. I believe that why this work is important to us is super powerful. And I think we could potentially be more powerful together if we get on the offense and make a plan to make sure that our voices are amplified, not just in this fishbowl of business, of the nitty gritty of how the money is being dispersed and all that, but why this work is so super important. Sometimes we're on here and we're really serious and we're arguing and we're debating, but at the heart of all of us, I think we really believe in this work, and we know that this work is going to save a lot of people's lives. And to be honest with you guys, after some of the news and catching up on the current political atmosphere, that I'm a little scared that they're coming for this measure in many different ways. And I was hoping that maybe we could stick together, maybe offline, and think of an offensive approach to approach to make sure that our voices are the very minimal heard of why this work is important.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Anisha. And I do see that Henry has his hand up.
Yeah, Anisha, I really do appreciate you bringing attention to that. I think there's been, I think that I get curious when I'm like driving in the car and I listen to OPB a lot. And there's a really great, there's some really good coverage that I think is really balanced coverage that they're doing on Think Out Loud right now that I think is like a really, if you have a chance to listen to it, they're talking to a lot of different organizations that are receiving funding for Measure 110. I think that maybe we could, as a committee, reach out to those organizations and kind of share some of our experiences. I don't know if that's something that would be reasonable. Folks that have experience, like Ron, I know you've had experience with that. So maybe we could, as a committee, reach out. And yeah, thanks a lot, Anisha.
That's a great idea. Maybe we can get some suggestions from like OHA staff about how to go about it and, stay within the realm of where we're supposed to be.
I do see that Allison has her hand up.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I was just going to make a note. If there's a topic that the council wants to discuss, especially related to the council's business, that could be, put onto an agenda at a public meeting, but that will need to be something that needs to be discussed during a public meeting, compliant with the public meeting laws. So, if there are suggestions from OHA, you guys can develop a plan, but the discussion part needs to occur in the meeting. Just a friendly reminder.
Thank you, Allison. And I do see that Hubert has his hand up.
Yes, I like this conversation we're having about people coming for the Measure 110 money and thinking that, they want to repeal the vote that the people did. But I think what people misunderstand is that you cannot have an addict stop using until they're ready to stop using. Our mission is to put things in place so when a person is ready to stop using, they'll have the resources to get the help they need. And I think society wants a quick fix because it's so bad, right? And I think they feel like if the fix wasn't done like yesterday, that it's a failure, right? So I think we need to be able to put that out there that, hey, this probably didn't get started overnight, right? So it's going to take every person in every agency that's for behavioral health to speak to the positive of what we're doing so that the public can hear what's really going on and what the needs look like. So people can quit thinking that, oh, we got all this money out here. How come we're still seeing a bunch of people on the corner doing fentanyl and how come people are still dying from fentanyl and how come it doesn't stop yesterday? This is a long-term endeavor and we're just one part of this a positive measure going forward. So we need to fight to keep this going because there's always going to be people coming for the money. That's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Hubert. And did you still have your hand up, Allison?
Nope, just trying to get it down. Sorry about that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. And then I would just like to let Onisha know that I did put it on our list to talk about in the next tri-chair meeting. And so we'll have that discussion later this week and we'll bring some answers back to the council. And then also I see that Blue has her hand up.
Thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, I just, Onisha, I totally agree with you. I don't always hear or, read the bad press that is sometimes around Measure 110, but I know it's out there and it often seems as though reporters really only want to report when they think we're doing a bad job and nobody's really made an effort to talk about when we're doing a good job. And so I think that, I don't know if a media subcommittee would be the direction we might need to go or not, but I think either way, it is something that we need to be proactive and we need to address. So thank you, Onisha, for bringing that up.
And Hubert, did you have anything else? Okay, then I'll turn it to you, Carlos. I was just making sure.
Thank you. I don't often speak. So I want to say this. I don't have a TV and I don't watch the news. I probably should. But as Hubert was talking about, or the way that we have everything set up in this state, probably in the country, has been around for a long time in how we deal with addiction. And coming up with a completely new way and method of providing services and changing the way that things have been done for such a long time takes time to do. And I think we all understand it and agree. I don't know what would be the best way to talk about it with the public as far as, about Measure 110. This is why we have OHA people that are, that's their expertise. But I know that there are some places, I think that more on the eastern part of the state in areas like Klamath that have services available to them that weren't there before if it weren't for Measure 110. And so, I think that areas like the Portland area and the areas that have more population, you could see some of that damage or what's been going on because there's more population, but the areas of Oregon that don't have those services available to them, I don't think that you see news coverage in those areas, because where are you going to find it, right? But we know that it's there. And so I think maybe if some of the folks from the areas that don't have enough resources were to talk about what it's like in their areas to not have those services available to those, to them. I don't know. I just wanted to share, and thank you, Anisha, for sharing that.
Thank you, everybody, for your comments. And I just wanted to echo what Carlos said, and it's very true in my community, which is Klamath County. We have about 40,000 people, and as of 2019, we still didn't honor Narcan and/or needle exchange. And so the work that we're doing is very progressive. In other larger areas, maybe they had some of this already set up or there was structure, but in my community, there was none of that. So without Measure 110, we may have never gotten as far as we did, as fast as we did. And I just also want to say, in my community, I've seen very little media coverage regarding Measure 110 and its benefits. The most of what I've seen, and I'm sorry to say it, but it is on social media. And I get a lot from the Health Justice Recovery Alliance. And so anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica if nobody else has anything.
Yeah, thanks, Sabrina. So obviously, I think Sabrina said in the chat that the tri-chairs will be addressing this in the next tri-chair meeting. And I just want to thank you all for your thoughtful, heartfelt comments. I don't think we have anything else for today's agenda.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about what I sent in the message, Jessica, about the media on Friday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been getting a lot of messages. I apologize. Well, yeah, so we will have this as an, I just want to see what you sent. We will have this as an agenda point in the tri-chair meeting. We will definitely report back to you. And I just sent you a message, Sabrina. So yeah, I don't have anything else. Thank you, Sabrina.
Awesome, thank you. And if nobody else has anything else to add, then I will wrap up the meeting and give you guys some of your time back for this afternoon.